Hi, I'm Rosie Birkett and I'm working with the marvellous Montezuma's chocolate on a new recipe for my chocolate and cardamom tart with a biscuity hazelnut pastry. For this recipe you're going to need a 20cm tart tin, ideally with a loose bottom like this. For the pastry you're going to need 90 grams of unsalted butter that's been chilled in the fridge, cut into cubes and chilled in the fridge so it's really nice and cold. 20 grams of icing sugar, 200 grams of flour. I've used 50-50 whole grain spelt flour and white spelt flour, but you could use 100 grams of plain flour and 100 grams of spelt flour. You just want a bit of a nice wholesome wholemeal or whole grain going through there just to give it a lovely nutty flavour and make it more nutritious. So that's what I've done. 50 grams of hazelnuts, skinned hazelnuts, 1 egg yolk and some ice cold water. Right, so I've got my food processor here and I'm going to start off by just blitzing up my hazelnuts. So 50 grams of hazelnuts in there, and then I'm just going to push them down to a coarse crumb. You don't want to over process these because the oils will come out and affect the pastry. So you just want to coarsely pulse these. Okay, these have still got some good texture going on. Don't know if you can see that, but that's got some good texture, which is what we want because we want this to be a really lovely biscuity, nutty base. So after that, I'm putting my flour in here, 200 grams of spelt flour, mixture of whole grain and white. And then we've got our icing sugar. That's going in there. And there was a pinch of salt in there with the icing sugar as well, which is always nice just to give that nice contrast. So I'm going to pulse this up again just to combine it. And then we're going to add in the butter. So in with the butter. Blitz that up until you've got sort of coarse breadcrumb, and then in with the egg yolk, and this is going to bind it together along with a tablespoon or 2 of the iced water. I'm going in with 2 of those. I'm just going to blitz this up and you can see that it's actually squishing together in my hand. So if you can squish it together, then it's ready to make your pastry. So you're going to tip this out into a bowl. So this is our lovely ball of pastry here. Really, it smells incredible and nutty. And we're just going to press it down into a sort of round disc. And then we're going to put it between 2 pieces of baking parchment because it's quite delicate and very short. And then we're going to roll it out into a disc between these 2 sheets. And this is a really good trick if you're, working with a slightly challenging pastry like this, because it means that you can roll it out and it's quite forgiving between these 2 sheets. So you just want to make sure that it's big enough to line your tart tin. So I'm just going to roll this out a little bit more. And it doesn't matter if it's not perfect because you can always patch it up. Yeah, that looks about right. So I know that's going to go all the way around. And there we go. And now I'm just going to go and chill this in the fridge and let it relax. And that will mean that it won't shrink when we blind bake it. And here's my tart tin here. You can see I've just pricked it all over with a fork. And that's just to let any air out so it's nice and even when it bakes. And to blind bake it, you just want to take one of the pieces of baking paper that you had sandwiched the pastry in and scrunch it up like this so that it's nice and pliable, and then you gently line the pastry with the baking paper and make sure you tuck it all into the edges and get it right up against there like so, and then you fill it with baking beans. So I'm using ceramic baking beans, but you can use dried rice or dried pulses. That works really, really well. And we've got our oven set to 170 fan. This is going to go into blind bake for 15 minutes until it's starting to go nice and golden and toasty. And then we'll peel this off and just give it another 5 to 10 minutes just to bake off the ingredients for the filling. So I've got 100 ml of milk here with 10 green cardamom pods that have just been lightly bashed in a pestle and mortar, and they're going to infuse the milk in a minute. Then we've got 240 ml of good quality French creme fraiche, full fat please, 2 eggs, 2 free range eggs, and then some more cardamom which I'm going to crush through at the end. And then here's the chocolate. So we've got 50 grams of the giant milk chocolate buttons, and then we've got 130 grams of the Lordy Lord, which is this one. So it's 70% cocoa, and it's got those lovely crunchy cocoa nibs running through the chocolate. Now, if you don't like cardamom, or if you don't have any, and you've got one of the other flavoured bars, you could swap that in here where the dark chocolate is. So you could swap in the Happy Hippie. That would work really well because that's flavoured with orange and geranium, which is a delicious combination. Also works well with the hazelnut base. Or you could use one of the chili chocolates that Montezuma's does. I think that would also work really well here. First of all, I'm going to infuse the milk. So I'm just bringing it up to the boil with these bashed cardamom pods inside it, and once it starts steaming, that will be, I don't want it to really boil over, I just want it to start steaming, and then I'm going to steep the cardamom pods in the milk for a good 15 minutes, and then we're ready to go. To melt your chocolate, you want to set up a bain-marie, so a couple of inches of water in a pan over a sort of medium to high heat so that it's bubbling and steaming, just a few inches in the bottom like this. And then you put a metal or a glass bowl with the chocolate in over the top and just stir it until it's melted. Okay, so I've got my lovely cardamom infused milk here. That's been infusing for about 15 minutes. I'm just going to pour that into my creme fraiche, straining out the pods. And then I'm going to add in a couple of eggs, so 2 eggs in there. Okay. And you want to just whisk that all up together to combine it. And I'm going to tip in my extra ground cardamom that I've just ground. That's just fresh, just to give it an extra hit of cardamom. That was about 5 cardamom pods, the seeds from those just crushed up. And then once you've combined all of your custard ingredients, you're going to pour them into the chocolate and mix them together. You just want to bring that together. You can use a whisk for this. Now this is our lovely blind baked tart case, which is ready now. It's got a lovely toasted bottom and it's got a lovely golden colour to it. It's really nutty and good. So then I'm just going to pour this custard in here, fill up the tart case, get it all out. We don't want to waste any of it. Here it is. This is going to go in the oven now at 150 fan for about 25 minutes. Here is our finished tart. You can see it's got a lovely sheen on it, and the pastry's come up really nice and golden as well, and the filling is looking really silky smooth and gorgeous. So we're just going to let that chill now. I'm gonna chill it in the fridge for a couple of hours. Okay, so it's the moment of truth. I've cut myself a rather healthy looking slice of tart, and I might have already had a little nibble. Very smooth, very silky. I hope you've enjoyed this recipe, and do tag us if you cook it, and please follow along for more ideas at #Montezuma's Moments.